Today I'm joined by Gary Kasmer, and we're going to be breaking down Medicare. And one of the top topics that our clients ask us for as they're planning for retirement here at Beacon Bridge, and one of the resources that we like to help clients with to make their journey through total retirement and total wellness a lot simpler and help them answer one of the key questions of how to plan for Medicare and how to address the costs. We're going to be talking a lot about some of the key topics today, and really hope that this video is informative for you to really understand some of the basics, understand some of the time frames, and understand how we can help you make these critical decisions. So Gary, welcome, and thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you back again.
Steve, thanks for having me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and the team. You guys are the best in the business.
I appreciate that. And Gary, give us a quick 30 seconds on who you are, your firm, and how you help clients through this journey around Medicare and deciding on their health coverage in retirement.
Definitely, Steve. So, Gary Kasmer, I've had my own firm for 5 years. I've been in the industry for over 20. I started out working with a large firm out of the King of Prussia area, and we saw a little niche in the market that we thought that we could help some people and catch it at the right time. And we've been fortunate. We've been lucky and maybe a little good, and we caught it at the right time. Our firm, we essentially help 3 different sectors in the community. We do small businesses, we help individuals that are under 65, and we help people that are transitioning to Medicare. And without a doubt, the second and third are really, really booming, in particular the Medicare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the questions that comes up a lot for us with our clients, and it's a really important topic, right? I know when folks are starting to get close to 65, one of the questions that they have is, how do I approach this? Is there someone that I can talk to? How do we really think about what are the resources that are out there? So today, Gary, let's take a few minutes to start off and just kind of break down the basics of Medicare. Everybody has heard the term, but there's a lot of different parts, Part A, Part B. It's kind of an alphabet soup of what's out there. So can you take a minute and just kind of walk through some of the basics just so that folks understand what they're looking at here when they're seeing these terms?
Definitely, Steve. I always start off when I talk to people, and the first thing that I always say is Medicare is really good. So to kind of put any anxiety that you have, to the side, Medicare is really good. Your question, Steve, Medicare is 4 parts, okay? Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B, okay, Part C, and Part D. All right. Medicare Part A essentially covers anything that happens in the hospital. All right. So anytime that you find yourself in the hospital, Medicare Part A kicks in. Now, for people that have worked, or their spouses that have worked 40 quarters over their lifetime, Medicare Part A is free. All right. The second part is Medicare Part B. Medicare Part B kicks in anything outside of the hospital. Okay, so doctor's visits, blood work, therapy, stuff like that. That's when Medicare Part B comes in. The base rate for Medicare Part B in 2025 is $185. That's up from $174.70 in 2024. All right. The third part, if you choose to take this, is called Part C. That's known as Medicare Advantage. All right. What that is, it's managed care. It's bundled care. Okay. You sign up with a carrier and it's all inclusive. You kind of put your A and B to the side, and Medicare Part C takes over. All right. We'll probably go over that later, Steve, in detail. And then the last part is Part D, D for drug. That's your prescription drug plan. Average cost of prescription drug plans around $32 a month. That's just tailored. There's hundreds and hundreds of different plans out in the market. We just find one that's tailored to your situation.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll go a little deeper here because I know a lot of times there is a question around, what is kind of alluded to as original Medicare with a supplemental plan, and then this Medicare Advantage, right? And so, which I think is Part C in terms of what you were speaking about earlier. So, go a little deeper for folks so they understand kind of the differences, the pros and cons, when someone may consider, one option versus the other.
Definitely. Original Medicare with a supplemented drug. Steve, I always say this is like your left hand. Okay. Your left hand has 4 parts. Medicare Part A and Part B. By the way, those two parts, they cover roughly 80% of your health care. All right. Where Medicare supplement comes in, it essentially picks up the other 20%. Okay. It almost gives you 100% coverage. Depends on what type of supplement plan you have. The reason that people get supplement plans is because the coverage is very comprehensive. There's no referrals, there's no networks. So whether you're in Philadelphia or New York or California, Medicare along with a supplement works great. You don't need to have a primary care doctor. As long as you go to a provider that takes Medicare, your supplement will work. The reason people get supplement plans is for the freedom, and it's for the very, very limited out-of-pocket exposure that you have. To just dive a little deeper into that, Steve, when you get a supplement plan, one of the most popular supplement plans is Plan G, like George.
Okay.
That plan, if you had that plan, you would have a $257 deductible. Once you pay that deductible, you have 100% coverage the rest of the calendar year. So, while you have to pay a monthly premium for that supplement plan, your out-of-pocket exposure is very limited. Okay.
Got it.
That's why people would want to go with original Medicare and a supplement. Okay. The other option, I say, is your right hand. That's Medicare Advantage. Okay. You still need Medicare Part A and Part B, but you essentially put them to the side. Medicare Advantage plan takes over. It's managed care. So you pick a carrier. In our market, Steve, where we live, Independence Blue Cross is the dominant carrier. So let's just say you sign up with Independence Blue Cross. It includes medical, dental, vision, hearing, prescription drug. Okay. It very much functions like the plan you have right now. Okay. Like the under 65 plan. Blue Cross and Blue Shield determines your care. They encourage you to stay within their network. Okay. One of the reasons that people really are attracted to Medicare Advantage plans is because over the years, the monthly cost has been coming down. A lot of the plans that are offered now are literally $0 a month. So you're not paying a monthly premium to have a Medicare Advantage plan, but on the flip side is you do have some exposure. So when you use the plan, you have, let's just make it up, Steve, you have a $30 copay when you see your specialist, or a $100 MRI copay, or a $250 a day in the hospital copay. So the Medicare Advantage plan, why it's $0 a month, there could be some costs on the back end.
Okay. Got it. So there's really, options for people out there, and it's a lot to navigate, right? And it's not one size fits all. There are certainly things to consider as folks are, thinking about what choices are the best for them. And I think that's why it's really important for people to understand the different terms and understand like how they can fit, because, knowing your particular situation is really, what will help guide the decision in terms of what the right plans could be or what the options are out there.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I often ask this question. I'll say to people, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but tell me about your health history. What do you have moving forward? Sometimes if people have a lot of stuff going on, I'll know right away that they belong in a supplement plan. But some people are very cost conscious, and they could be running marathons. They could be an ideal candidate for a Medicare Advantage plan. So
Got it.
To your point, Steve, we try to weigh all those different factors.
Oh, Gary, let's talk a little bit about the timeframes that people need to consider when applying for Medicare, right? Everyone knows 65 is a key age that they need to think about. But what are the timeframes, and what are the other things to consider? Because there are other options and other scenarios of when someone may apply for Medicare. Can you talk a little bit about, what are key timeframes for people to be aware of?
Sure, Steve. There's really two. One is called the initial enrollment period, and then there's another one called the special enrollment period. The initial enrollment period it's a 7-month window, Steve. So it's 3 months before the month that you turn 65, the month that you turn 65, and 3 months after you turn 65. So there's a 7-month window that you have to enroll in Medicare, and or your supplement and your Advantage plan. The other period that's becoming more and more is popular, Steve, it's called the special enrollment period. What's
Okay.
happened is, there's some people that are obviously working past 65, 66, 67, 68, 70. Okay. And then they decide to retire and go on Medicare. When that happens, Steve, you have an 8-month window from the month that you retire to elect Medicare Part A and Part B. Okay. It's pretty important that you stay within that 8-month window. A lot of times people, they talk to me about COBRA opportunities, when they retire, and that's fine for the first 8 months. But after that 8th-month window, that COBRA isn't considered credible coverage, and you could open yourself up to some lifetime penalties. So
Okay.
initial enrollment period, Steve, 7 months. Okay, your special enrollment period is 8 months from when you retire from your employer-sponsored health insurance plan.
Got it. Next topic we should focus on, which is one I'm sure comes up a lot in our world, is what is the cost? There's a lot of conversations out there around healthcare costs and around what does Medicare cover and what to consider there, how to plan for that, right? And so
Yeah.
give us the basics. I know there's some variances here in terms of how much it can cost depending on income and whatnot, but let's talk about the basics and some of the other things to consider for people out there.
Yeah. Really, really important, Steve. And I think that your team does a good job of helping your clients with this. So, no matter what else you do, you're always going to need Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B, whether you decide to go with a supplement or Advantage plan. Okay. Remember, Medicare Part A is free. Medicare Part B, there is a charge to it. In 2025, the base amount for Medicare Part B is $185. Now, I want your clients to know that it's always a 2-year look back, Steve, that cost is based off of. So in 2025, okay, they're going to look at your client's 2023 tax return, and they're going to determine what their 2025 cost is. Now, depending on what their income level, there's 6 different levels that they could charge, Steve, and I'll just read them off real fast. $185 is the base. 259, 370, 480, 591, 628. So it scales up really, really quick. And again, it's all based off of your tax return 2 years ago. I think this is really important, Stephen, where you and the team come in, is with the right preparation, you can help your clients, at 62 or 61, plan for that 63-year-old, to have them ready so they don't get hit with that penalty come 65.
Right.
So they're the charges. Okay. A is free. Part B, base rate's 185, but it can go up really fast. The other charge that's out there is your supplement charge. Average cost on that is around $160 a month. It obviously depends on age and where you live, but that's probably an average cost. And then your supplement, your prescription drug plan, again, depends on what prescriptions you're taking, where do you live, and how old you are, but $32 a month. So
Sure.
in general, Steve, there's some ballpark charges.
Yeah. The Part B premium is one that we are doing more and more planning on these days. I mean, the biggest thing that comes up is as the last year of earnings is usually the highest and peak year for someone. So, if they retire and their income is dropping dramatically in that next year, well, Medicare is going to base it off of their 2-year prior working history. But we've had a lot of success with applying through there's a form SS44 to apply for a waiver of that IRMA penalty. And I've had a lot of success with clients, with doing that and planning that and saying like, this is going to be our income moving forward. And it seems to be working pretty well. So something to really be aware of for clients. Number one, the plan, what their income is going to look like. But two, if it has changed and they're looking back a couple of years, there are options for people to consider. So that's something we're thinking about a lot right now. I don't know if you're seeing that as well.
No, Stevie. I really appreciate when you and the team do that. It's really important. I see it every day.
So last topic here, Gary, that I think we should spend some time on because it comes up a lot is, if spouses are different ages, right? So one spouse is 65 and, maybe both spouses have been on, one company medical plan, right? Now that spouse is retiring and let's say one is before age 65. And so we get a lot of questions like, I guess I have to work longer so that we'll have health insurance, but there are options out there. So if can you talk a little bit about pre-Medicare health insurance planning? I know this topic is really around Medicare, but it's important if one spouse is eligible and one spouse is not yet eligible and they're retiring, what are the options that are out there and what should they think about, in those scenarios?
Steve, this situation happens all the time. Thank you for bringing it up. There's really three options for the younger spouse. Okay, and the first one's really not. You really wouldn't think of it. But if the spouse and the employer, they're getting employer sponsored coverage, the first option is to ask and find out if they're eligible for COBRA. Depending on the size of the company that the employee works for, they could have a favorable COBRA rate. So a lot of people say, "Oh, COBRA's too expensive. I don't even want to explore it." It's worth exploring, Steve. So
Okay.
option number one, let's look at the COBRA rate. See if that younger spouse is eligible for the COBRA, and let's find out if the coverage is good and how much it is. Okay, that's option number one. Option number two is we can just go on the open market. Again, we'll talk Philadelphia, but in our market, Independence Blue Cross is the dominant carrier. So we could go to Independence Blue Cross and we could, it's really simple. Just put in your date of birth, your home zip code, and your smoker status, and the rates would come out. That's all it's dependent on. There's no medical questions. It's strictly demographic based. Okay, that's number two. And number three, Steve, and it's always interesting, and a lot of people are surprised, is we could look on the Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange, otherwise known as Penny. And the reason that we would look at Penny is to see if that spouse, that under 65 spouse, qualifies for a discount on the exchange. A lot of people are shocked, Steve, to see that even though their income is still at a certain level, but they still qualify for a discount. So it's not hard to do all three, and that's part of the process that your team and I would go through with them to to evaluate.
Yeah. Again, a lot of different things to consider, a lot of options that are out there. And I think, bringing these resources to the table and helping educate people on the pros and cons and what's really appropriate and, applicable in their situation, that's the planning work that we're all trying to do here and really make sure that simplify something and help them get the best possible option that's out there. That's really what's important these days. So, yeah, I really appreciate your time. Been a great resource, in helping educate myself and our team and our clients, around these topics. Being a great partner to help, walk clients through this and navigate, save them a lot of time and probably a lot of money at the same, on the same vein there. So really important. It's a complicated topic, and at Beacon Bridge Wealth Partners, our goal is just to help them plan to live well. And again, total retirement is really about thinking about not only all your financial decisions, but your healthcare decisions, your lifestyle decisions, your purpose, and really how this thing impacts your relationships. And this is a key area that we're focused on. And appreciate the knowledge and the feedback that you have for us, Garrett, today. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon and in the near future, as these things are always changing, and we got to stay up to date on the latest and greatest around these important topics.
Steve, thanks so much. I really, really appreciate working with you and your team.